Hello Year 2 and welcome to this week's home learning pack on Explorers, where we'll be focusing on SPAG. So let's jump right into our first exercise. It says, can you spot the mistakes? Circle them and then rewrite the sentences in your best handwriting. So my first sentence says, as he began to walk through the jungle, he felt scared. So right away I can see several mistakes in this sentence. I can see that there are some missing capital letters that we need to add in. There are also some capital letters that shouldn't be there, so we need to turn into lowercase letters. There's one spelling mistake, and there's also some punctuation missing. So I'm going to get started on circling my mistakes. So on the very beginning, there's a small a that we need to turn into a capital A because it's the beginning of our sentence. Right next to that, we also have a capital letter S that we need to turn into a lower letter s because it should not be capital. As he began to walk through. Now this word here, if you read out the letters, and it'll sound like the word through. However, the spelling of this word is a different word. It's used as the past tense of throwing something, whereas we're looking for the word walking through something, walking in between something. So we would spell it like this. As he began to walk through the jungle, we also have a capital letter here, but this should not be capital. So again, we need to turn that into a lowercase h. As he began to walk through the jungle, he felt scared. Now the last thing that is missing is a full stop at the end here. It was cold and wet and miserable, and they couldn't wait to get in the warm. So I'm already going to start circling my first mistake, which is the first letter here. It should be a capital letter. It was cold and wet and miserable. Now here I have two ands in a row in between three adjectives. Now when I have adjectives like this in a list, I can use my first and, I can replace it with another punctuation. Can you think of what punctuation we can use in a list? We can use a comma, just like that. It was cold, comma, wet, and miserable. And we have another capital letter here that shouldn't be there, so I'm going to replace it with a lowercase letter. It was cold and comma, wet and miserable, and they couldn't. Again, here for the word couldn't, I have combined two different words into one, and I've missed out a letter. Now when I put two words together and miss out a letter, I always need to add some form of punctuation. Okay, what punctuation do we use there? We can use an apostrophe. It was cold, comma, wet and miserable, and they couldn't wait. Now the word wait here for me looks a little bit strange. Okay, if I read the letters, then it does make the sound wait. However, that's not how we spell the word wait. Does anyone know? Let's see if you've got it right. So we can spell it like this. It was cold, comma, wet and miserable, and they couldn't wait to get in the warm. Now the last thing that sounds a little bit strange to me is the word in. They couldn't wait to get in the warm? I would say into the warm. They couldn't wait to get into the warm. He lighted the fire and began to cook their dinner. So in this sentence I can see three spelling mistakes. He lighted. Would we say the word lighted? If I light the fire now, did I lighted the fire yesterday? No, we would say the word lit. He lit the fire and began. Began. I think there's a problem with the two E's. Do we need two E's here? No. So he began to cook their dinner. The word there as well has a problem. So we use this word to describe a place over there. I put my school bag over there. But in this sentence, they're talking about dinner. their dinner. The dinner belongs to them, so we would spell it like this. He lit the fire and began to cook their dinner. So now I'm going to have a go at writing out my sentences in my best George Spicer cursive handwriting. I'm going to need to remember my ascenders, my descenders, and also to use finger spaces in between my words. Now, if you're having some trouble or you just like to have a look at Miss Buckley's SPAG video from the week before we close for half term, she explains it very, very well and can help with your cursive handwriting. So here is the second exercise. Can you complete the sentences with the appropriate conjunctions? So for these sentences, there are no conjunctions there. We will need to add them in and then finish off the sentence, making sure that it all makes sense. First sentence says, he picked up his warm jacket. Now I've decided to end the sentence saying, and wrapped it around his shoulders. You can use your own conjunction and you can finish off the sentence however you would like. Second sentence says, slowly he crept over the snake because he wanted to make sure he would not wake it. Again, choose your own conjunction and finish off the sentence. Third sentence, his rucksack was bursting with items, so he emptied some of them out. The next exercise says, can you complete the sentences by adding an exclamation mark or a question mark? Now, we haven't done an exercise like this before on our home learning. However, we have used exclamation marks and question marks both during the school year in year 2 and also in some of the videos. So we should be able to work it out. Now, just to remind ourselves, you have 10 seconds to have a quick think about what is an exclamation mark and what is a question mark. When do we use these in a sentence? Okay, so we might use an exclamation mark when we're saying something very loud, when we are exclaiming, shouting out. Maybe we're very eager for someone to listen to us, to look at something, so that's when we'll use an exclamation mark. A question mark is quite simple, we just use it when we're asking someone a question. Now let's have a look at my first sentence. Is the path dangerous? Straight away we can tell that this is a sentence, so we're going to add, sorry, this is a question, so we're going to add a question mark. Is the path dangerous? Good. Second sentence. Look out. Now this one, something might be going on. It might be something very interesting that someone wants you to look at, or maybe there's a danger ahead of you and they're exclaiming. So we'd use an exclamation mark. Third sentence. Where should we set up our camp? Now this is a question. Someone is wondering where they should set up their camp. So we're going to use a question mark. My last one, come here quick. So again, this one, someone is very eager for someone to come, so we're going to use an exclamation mark. Well done. Now the last exercise for our SPAG video is our spellings. Now I'm sure you've been doing your spellings for quite a while, and we've been doing it at school as well, so I'm sure you've got the hang of it, but just to remind you, you can use the look, say, cover, write, and check method to have a go at practicing your spellings. You can also write sentences out to help you learn the words and apply them into different sentences. As an extension, I'd like you to use a dictionary to find the definition of each word, because we need to make sure we know what each word means before using it in a sentence. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.